Listen to the Vibes.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. I'm very happy to welcome Conor Cunneen here, who is a speaker, and we're going to get to know him and a little bit about what he does. So let's kick it off right, man. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey, Kyle, great to be on the show. Conor Cunneen. As I tell people when I'm doing webinars, the brand is IrishmanSpeaks. Oh, sorry, this side. Okay, all right. And what I do is my mission is to improve people, performance, and productivity with a smile. So when I'm speaking to audiences about business topics, about oncology, about marketing, leadership, whatever, job search, as well as another topic of mine, I try to provide good common sense, but also throwing in a dash of Irish blarney and good fun into the conversations as well.
I notice you got an award for speaking at the San Quentin Prison.
Well, I position myself also as a bit of a business humorist, so there's humor always in the presentations. But one of the things I was lucky enough to win was Chicago Humorous Speaker of the Year. And that speech actually was on customer service in San Quentin Prison. And obviously it's a goofball. When people think about customer service, they think about maybe Southwest or Dell or Microsoft. Well, maybe not Microsoft, but anyway. But when you then take a customer service and you match it with San Quentin Prison, it's just total goofball. And the speech, I just actually one of the things I did, if I can explain it to you, I was talking about the mission. I speak when I'm speaking to organizations, I talk about having a clear goal and a clear mission. And I kind of adapted that for San Quentin. I said the mission for San Quentin is, here in San Quentin, we are dedicated to your security. Here in San Quentin, we are dedicated to your security. Your freedom is our number one concern. So what I actually then, sometimes when I'm talking about business topics, then I say, gang, that in one sense makes absolute sense, but it's rubbish. The question for you as business leaders or thought leaders is your mission not just making sense, but is it also clear, and will people go along with it and not be just a rubbish compilation of words kind of thing?
So what is the laugh method?
Oh, the laugh method. I've developed a program which I'm now about online on adding humor to your presentation. And what I say here, Kyle, is that one of the blog titles I'm working on just at the moment is, you don't have to be funny to be funny. All right. And people kind of say, what do you mean, Conor? And what I'm saying is that when you're speaking to an audience, or when you're doing a sales call, or when you're doing an interview, if you can get that audience or the recruiter smiling just once or twice during the presentation or the interview, you have a much better chance of closing the sale or of connecting with that person and getting the response that you want. So what I say, Kyle, is that you don't have to create humor, you capture it. And what I've done is I've created a 5-word acronym that gives the 5 concepts to capture that. So if I say to you, this is what I would do with my audience, for instance, I'd say, all right, gang, I'm looking for a 5-letter word. And if I ask you, or if I say to you something funny, what is it that I hope that you will do? And you'll respond, laugh, hopefully, okay?
Of course, laugh, right?
Yeah, all right. So I said, all right, laugh is the acronym that I would like you to remember that will help you to add humor to your presentation. And the basic idea is you don't have to create humor, you can capture it. So what do I mean? Laugh stands for, first one is listen. Okay, so almost certainly when you were doing some podcasts over the last couple of days, Kyle, you said something that made your guest laugh, or they said something that made you laugh. What I say is, when that happens, write it down. Take out your iPhone, whatever it is, your device you've got for recording your material, just write it down. You don't know when you're going to use it, but you'll have something that you might want to use next week or the week after. You haven't created it, you've just captured it. And I'll give you an example of it in a few seconds' time. So that's the first element of the LAUGH acronym in adding humor to your presentation. The second element of the laugh, laugh. Look at that. See, I'm getting tongue-tied already. Second element of the laugh acronym is anecdote. And if you think back over when you have laughed over the last week or so, if you pay attention to when you laugh over the next few days, most of the time it isn't jokes are the generators of the laughter. It's a quip or a comment or a story that someone is telling or that you are telling. And it's often a story, and this is the you in laugh. It's an anecdote where at some stage you were uncomfortable or something went slightly wrong. And then when you're explaining that, you're laughing at it because it's no longer kind of life-threatening, or it never was in the first place. But I mean, when you're explaining what went wrong and how you got out of it, either you're laughing or the people around you are laughing. And they are great sources for humor for your presentation. I'll give you an example. I speak a lot. My mission is to improve people, performance, and productivity with a smile. So everyone wants to improve their people, their performance, their productivity. And one of the groups I speak to would often be manufacturing entities or safety conferences. And what I say, Kyle, is that if you're in a safety conference, I say to you, the simple definition of safety that I read somewhere, it's not mine, is you go into work with 10 fingers and toes, you leave with 10 fingers and toes. But for you to do that, you've got to make sure you're aware of your surroundings, and you got to make sure your colleagues are aware of their surroundings where you are. So I'll just give you a little example. A couple of weeks ago, I went to collect my darling 6-year-old granddaughter from soccer practice. Amy, my daughter, had brought her to the soccer practice. We said we'd collect her and do an overnight with her. We go to the soccer practice, collect Maggie, and bring her back into the car. We put her into the back seat, obviously, in the car. And my wife, Grammy, as she's known as, Pops sits in beside her. So then, being a goofball Grampy, I sit into the back seat of the car as well. And Maggie, after a couple of seconds, says, Grampy, you should be in the front. And I said, no, I want to stay here in the back. And she said, Grampy, as only a 6-year-old cute little redhead could do. So I get to get out of the car. One problem. We're on child lock.
Oh, no.
Okay? All right. So what we had to do was we had to phone Amy, my daughter, Maggie's mother, to come back into the parking lot, open the car door for us so I could get into the front seat of the car. Now, that's a kind of an actual anecdote. It was something where something went slightly wrong, but nothing seriously. But the point I can then make to the manufacturing conference, Kyle, or to the safety conference is, gang, that's just a simple example. Not paying attention to your environment. In my situation, there was no serious outcome. But for you, if you want to leave work with your 10 fingers and your 10 toes, you've got to be aware of your surroundings and make sure that when you get into a situation, the car lock, the child lock is not on. Otherwise, you can end up in trouble. So that's a good little example of how you can take the anecdote, something slightly uncomfortable. About that one, I've told it to a few people. I listened and I realized, hey, there's people are laughing at that. So the laugh acronym, the 5 elements to add humor to your presentation are listen, anecdote, uncomfortable situation related to the anecdote. G is for Google. And basically what I say here, Kyle, is that you don't have to create humor, you capture it. So if you're doing a speech on, let's say, heavy metal music or something like that, or you're talking to the Trans-Siberian guitar or someone from Metallica or someone like that. I mean, one of the ways you could connect with them is to try and find some humorous anecdote about Lars or James Hetfield or something like that. Or maybe you can find some humorous quote about heavy metal, someone kind of denigrating heavy metal kind of thing. But just Google about your topic, put in the word humorous quote after the topic, or put in humorous anecdote about your topic. You may well come up with something, and then you can possibly drop it into your presentation. And I don't believe there's any fear of plagiarism. You can give someone credit if it's credited online, if you feel you need to do that. But it's not like plagiarizing comedy, which is a totally different kind of a situation. And then the last element of the LAUGH acronym in adding humor to your presentation. So we've listened, we've got an anecdote where it was uncomfortable, we've probably taken a Google reference, and then when you're doing a presentation, maybe, and this is the H in laugh, it's going from he to ho, ho, ho. And by that, I mean, you may say something slightly funny, either a quip or a comment, or get a comment from the audience that maybe has a small little bit of a he from the group. But that's like magic. It's like the seed. If you plant it and fertilize it, it'll grow. So is there something with that little he comment that you can build on or reduce, maybe tighten, use a slightly different word to get it to a ho, ho, ho. And over a period of time, you'll figure out how to do that. So that's basically the theory behind adding humor to your presentation. I've got quite a few other different videos and programs in the adding humor to your presentation course. And I love doing it. I'm doing the job that I absolutely love doing. And it's an absolute blast. And I can even walk the road here outside of Chicago.
You know, my grandson is always saying something just off the wall hilarious. I need
Yeah,
to start writing all that down and maybe incorporate it into my podcast, because I know I can get some chuckles. There's
yeah,
times he makes me laugh so hard, I mean, my stomach hurts.
right. And the thing is, by the way, is that grandson, was that the one that's on Instagram?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, he's a cute kid. But the thing is, everyone has experience of kids, and a huge number of us have experience of grandkids. So if you take a comment from your grandkid, the audience understands it. And sometimes you might actually say, all right, is there actually, all right, maybe that might sound silly, but there's actually a moral to that kind of a message as well. And so you're taking something, Kyle, that is, you haven't created, you just listen to it, and it'll make a real difference to how you're perceived by your audience, by your sales contact, or whoever it is, or the interviewer that's interviewing you for a job.
When did you first start doing this? And I mean, why did you decide this is what you wanted to do?
I came over, I tell people that I've been working on my Chicago accent for 25 years, Kyle. Nailed it, obviously, yeah. I came over originally. I was working for a company called Best Foods Mayonnaise, Hellman's Mayonnaise. You know them.
Mm-hmm.
I was VP of marketing with them, and the plan was we would spend 3 years here in the US. I'm here 25 years now, so I'm not very good at math, obviously. But after I left, we were taken over by a company called Unilever, and I could have gone back to Europe with them, but my daughter had started in Wake Forest in North Carolina. I didn't want to mess her education up again. So we separated from Unilever, and I developed some consulting business initially. But as I was doing some speaking, I mean, asked to speak at conferences, I realized, hey, you can actually get money out of this. Then over a period of time, and this is an interesting thing for your listeners who are involved in business, it took me a bit of time to morph into IrishmanSpeaks. That didn't happen immediately. I was just kind of Grow Food Service Profit was the first consulting organization that I had. So for any of your listeners who are kind of struggling where they want to go, keep struggling. It will happen for you as long as you keep making the effort, I think. And over a period of time, when I was asked to speak at conferences, I got involved with Toastmasters, and I won the Chicago Humorous Speaker of the year. And I started developing good content and realized that, hey, we can make a living out of this. So we've had a lot of good years. We've had a lot of bad years as well because of 2009-10 and COVID as well. Really good for business. COVID is really good. Oh my God. But it's recovered again, and it's also helped me to develop new skills. If COVID hadn't happened, I mightn't be doing online programs now, for instance. But it's my mission is to leave audiences with a smile on the face, with a spring in the step, and memorable takeaways. And so far it's going pretty okay.
How does someone start doing what you're doing?
First thing I think is you need to have a message that you want to convey to people. You need to have a message that people can benefit from hearing. I was going to say you need to have a message that people want to hear, but that's not always the situation. It's a message that people can benefit from hearing. And then what I suggest is that you get used to presentation skills. Things like joining Toastmasters is one great way to do it. I'm involved still in one Toastmasters group. People think Toastmasters is just for amateurs or people who are afraid of speaking, but we've got a Toastmasters group here, Kyle, in Chicago called Windy City Professional Speakers. And for me, that's a brilliant speaker lab. And then the other thing, quite honestly, to make it in the speaking and communication business, and you know this, you're a businessman as well, you got to be able to market yourself and differentiate yourself. And I know a lot of speakers who are not particularly good, who do not have a particularly good message, but they're really good at marketing, and they're making more money than speakers who are not good at marketing and maybe have a better message. So what I try to do over the years was just to make sure I build on the IrishmanSpeaks brand. I try to have some material that plays a little bit on the Irish scene, but not too much. So for instance, my most popular keynote is one that's titled The Gift of Gab. And you're thinking, the gift of gab from an Irishman. But GAB, though, is an acronym for goals, attitude, behavior. Goals, attitude, behavior. And how if you adopt this concept of goals, attitudes, behavior, you can create a better work environment, etc. So it's an absolute blast, and it gives me the opportunity to visit a lot of the United States. I've done work in Canada and Europe as well. And I'm doing something that keeps me young, and I hope keeps other people young and happy as well.
I need to learn how to do the I'm trying to get my name out there. I mean, I haven't marketed myself very well, and I don't know how to do that. I've had guests on who are phenomenal. I had a guy come on that he does magic while he tells stories of history.
Yeah.
And I mean, the whole presentation from beginning to end is just fabulous. Hardly has any followers at all, but I will turn on YouTube and some guy who's got millions of followers, he barely gets through because he doesn't, it's not a very good presentation. Let's put that way.
Right. Well, I tell you what, I do a program on this for a small business, and I suggest that one of the things you could possibly do is to go out and to the library or buy the book called SEO, Search Engine Optimization for Dummies. And people say, I'm not a dummy. No, you're not. But in fact, I actually say, if you're talking about bad brand names, that's a bad brand name for a brilliant product. For Dummies series is really good. And if you were to try and skim through that and understand the basics of why videos pop up, why websites pop up, it's really very, very simple. I'll give an example. I speak a lot to cancer survivor groups, oncology groups. I'm actually down in your state next week. I'm down in Dallas speaking to the Oncology Nursing Society, as long as we can get out of Chicago with the weather, but I think we should be okay. The reason why I'm getting down in Dallas is I've had 2 bouts of cancer over the years. I've had thyroid and I've had prostate. Now, thankfully, both I'm doing fine. And I actually tell my audiences or an event planner, if they phone me, I tell them that having had a thyroidectomy and a prostatectomy, I now have an Irish condition known as there's not much left of me. Okay? Right. So I'm taking an uncomfortable situation and anecdote and making a little bit of fun out of that one. But what I do is I get a lot of business from SEO and people finding my videos online. Now, if I title my video, Conor Cunneen, Irishman Speaks on cancer, no one is going to find that. However, when I title my videos what Mary Lou in Austin or in North Dakota is looking for, what she's actually looking for her audience is a humorous motivational speaker oncology, or humorous motivational speaker cancer survivorship, or inspirational funny speaker cancer survivorship. if you key those terms into your Google search window, I would bet that the Irishman Speaks will pop up on page one for all of those terms. But that's for a simple little thing that businesses need to appreciate. Use the terms that your audience will use when they're looking for someone with your skill set. That's the most basic premise of SEO. And if you do that, you have a much better chance of being found. I'm doing a big gig in Vegas in March, 3 days. I'm emceeing a conference for 3 days in Vegas. They found me through SEO. I did not know the organization, but she Googled in a couple of words that were relevant to what I have on my YouTube channel or on my website, and I popped up. She saw my videos and they've contacted me. That's the power of search engine optimization. So hopefully that'll help you and your listeners.
You're coming down to Dallas for oncology, huh?
Yeah, if I speak a lot to, I give a lot of credit to the people who helped me through my oncology journeys over the years. Now, thankfully, everything is fine, but cancer is something that frightens an awful lot of people, and the healthcare providers that do great work on oncology are just wonderful people. So there's an Oncology Nursing Society chapter in Dallas, and they've invited me down to speak to them. And basically what I'll be talking about is the gift of gab. It'll be keep on keeping on through the gift of gab: goals, attitude, and behavior. And I'll be telling you some good stories, some humor, but also with some good insights on how to keep on keeping on during. It's a tough job being an oncology healthcare professional.
Have you written any books?
I've written actually 5 books in total. Wow. And as I say, I'm a best-selling author, Kyle. And by that, I mean, well, one of my books is best-selling compared to the other 4, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
And the other one, I haven't actually done this, but someday I'm going to actually just get a little image and put one of my books on top of the New York Times, and say on top of the New York Times bestseller list. Okay, so, but one of the books I've actually written about, I know we keep away from politics in this show, but I've actually done one on Mark Twain. I've written 2 books on Mark Twain. One is what Mark Twain can learn you about public speaking, because Twain was actually an incredibly successful speaker as well as being an author. But the other one is titled "Suppose You Were an Idiot: Mark Twain on Politics and Politicians." And basically, Twain was a very acerbic, insightful commentator on politics, and he hated all of the graft, the corruption, the hypocrisy in his time. Without getting into any hassle here at all, it'll be exactly the same here. The reason for the book title, "Suppose You Were an Idiot," Twain actually said on one occasion, "Suppose you were an idiot, suppose you were a congressman," but I repeat myself. So, and that's a bipartisan comment. I mean, you can't hit me for anything partisan than that. So I'm on Amazon.com. There's about 5 books on Amazon.com that might be of interest to your listeners and viewers.
Now, do you have a website?
I do. The website is IrishmanSpeaks, all one word, IrishmanSpeaks. They've YouTube channel, Irishman Speaks, Instagram, Facebook, basically Irishman Speaks as well. And I see you're on TikTok as well. I've gone on to TikTok in the last couple of weeks and getting some nice comments about the videos I post there. A different demographic generally, but hey, most of those people are in the business world as well at some stage. So it's Irishman Speaks. I'll be putting something on my website shortly about the Adding Humor course, but I've got a separate website called The Improvement Academy. The Improvement Academy. And that's actually where I've got the Adding Humor to Your Presentation course at the moment. Adding the improvementacademy.com.
Well, I can put all of those links in the description to make it easy for folks to find you. Man,
I appreciate that.
This has been a pretty entertaining conversation, to say the least.
And I'm staying warm. Look, there's no snow in Chicago at the moment. Yeah, right. Funny thing, I actually tell people, I live in a place called Naperville, which is about 30 miles west of Chicago. I tell people that this is the back road from Naperville into Chicago, because Chicago actually is basically a bankrupt state at this stage. So we can't afford to have good roads anymore.
Well, I tell you, I think I'd like to be in Ireland with a view like that.
Oh yeah, and having a good pint of Guinness, my man. That's one thing I miss from Ireland. There's very few places here that pour Guinness well. But going back to Ireland and walking down to the pub and hearing the crack and the fun and having a pint of Guinness, man, it's heaven.
Well, thank you so much, Connor, for coming on my show. I've really enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks, Kyle. Take care, stay well, and rock on Metallica, okay?
Oh, yeah. I also want to thank all you folks out there. If you are new to the channel, I hope you'll come back. Hit that subscribe button. For my regulars, you guys are awesome because you make it possible for me to do this. And until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network